Hello, my name is Linda Cerdeira. It's a pleasure to be here presenting you some of PROMUNDO's work. I've been working with PROMUNDO since 2013, first in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and currently I'm in Portugal. I'm a researcher at the Center for the Social Studies of Coimbra University, and I collaborate with PROMUNDO Portugal and with PROMUNDO US. Today I will talk a little bit of our work, how we do it and why we do it, focused on how to engage boys and men in creating paths for gender equality and nonviolent trajectories. I will share my screen. Okay. And I will stay here so that you can see me. Okay, so for those who don't know our work, PROMUNDO develops international researches focused on gender, masculinity, violence, and health. And these researches, they inform our programs and methodologies. At the same time, we do a monitor and evaluation of these programs so that we can adjust our methodologies and also to inform new researches. And this allows us to develop also campaigns nationally and internationally, and also to do policy advocacy so that we can influence changes on legal and structural policies and the environment to support the community and individual changes. Our approach is focused on men and boys, that they are also enmeshed in gender norms and social expectations and power dynamics. We consider that gender is relational and obviously it intersects with other dimensions. And some social norms around masculinities, they are harmful for both men and women, boys and girls, and for everybody. So if we promote these changes, gender equality can bring benefits for everyone. And men are and can be agents of change. So we consider that men can and often do want to prevent gender violence. And the violence is a learned behavior. So if it's a learned behavior, we believe that we can also transform it and to give place to a more gentle and non-violent behavior. So enable this change through research, program, and advocacy, we believe that we can achieve at some point gender equality. However, there is still a large gap in addressing these gender norms and roles of socialization with boys and men. And when we look at these models of masculinity, we try to understand the general notion of what it means to be a man. These gender norms, we know that they are across all society, they influence behaviors and practices. And we must keep in mind that these norms, they must be assessed at the beginning of each program as problems, as challenges, as beliefs and values. So it's very important to consider before we do any implementation or develop any program, it's really important to know the context where we are working, because these particular notions of what it means to be a man or a woman or anything else is very important to consider that it needs to be adapted to that particular context. Also, norms, they are not static and they can be both positive or negative. They guide behaviors, but they do evolve. So we need to consider also this evolution of social norms. And we need to look up to uphold or reinforce positive norms while challenging and questioning negative norms. This is something that PROMUNDO considers that it's very important for us to always give the positive examples of what is already happening. And so obviously, if these norms are produced and reinforced at multiple levels, we also need to work at multiple levels. So individual, relationship, community, and structural, so that we can achieve permanent changes. And obviously, they are reinforced at all levels, and we have some examples. So the idea that men need to be dominant, around family expectations, that wife, mother will be the primary caretaker, the man will be the provider. At the community level, we can consider business owner does not provide flexible work schedules, parenting license, and so on. And at the social level, we can, as example, the land policy and legislation that usually favors sons over daughters. So these are simple examples that they often happen in different contexts. So we have this idea of a man box, what it means to be a man, a real man. So men must be powerful, they must be tough, they don't cry, they don't express their emotions, no weakness, being confident, being successful. And as I said before, this interacts with different aspects as well. So the idea of heterosexuality as well. So being able to defend himself. And these influences, it has consequences. Our research has been telling us that as more as men are inside this box, more they tend to practice physical violence, bullying, to do self-harm, to practice sexual violence and harassment, and being vulnerable or in situations of exclusion. This study that PROMUNDO conducted in Mexico, in the UK, and in the US is called the Manbox Study. And it had this primary question that focused on to extend the rigid expectations about how men should behave affect young men. So it was focused in young men between 18 and 30 years old. And it had this axis. So one of the axes was regarding self-sufficiency, the second one, acting tough, the third one, physical attractiveness, the fourth one, rigid masculinity, gender roles, heterosexuality and homophobia, hypersexuality, aggression, and control. And that brings up just some of the general data. The research is available on our website if you want to learn more. But what we could see was that regarding the pressure, the potentiality of practicing sexual harassment for those men that are inside this pattern, these stereotypes of the man box, of what it means to be a man. In Mexico, they are 3 times more likely to practice sexual harassment. In the UK and in the US, 6 times more likely to practice sexual harassment than the other men that are not inside this man box. And they are also more likely to have risk behaviors like getting drunk or consuming drugs, more likely to be involved in traffic accidents, to perpetrate physical bullying, and to perpetrate online bullying. And we estimate that this cost of the man box represents something like 15.7 billion a year in the US. We conducted another study. This is more recent. It's also available. The report is available on our website, focused on the media. And the primary question was, to what extent does boys' media reinforce this man box? And it was focused with boys from 7 to 13 years old. And we could see that male characters are much more likely to be shown having a job. Male characters are less likely to be showing engaging in hands-on parenting, and they are less likely to be shown as competent parents. Also, boys are more likely to be shown without parents. Girls are more likely to be shown in close relationship with mothers, and they are more likely to engage in risky behaviors. They are also more likely to be shown committing violent acts against others, and less likely to be shown expressing emotions other than anger. So, and the leading characters, the female leading characters, they are shown in positions of leadership, especially focused on care. We also saw that during the COVID-19 pandemics, the high rates of young men and young boys engaging in the time spent online, so watching movies, playing video games, or watching funny videos. And we have these interactive activities they did during the quarantine. The other study that we did more recently was the parent study, and we focused on what do parents in the US want for their sons when it comes to gender norms and masculinity. And we saw that the relation with emotions and being able to show your emotions in a gentle way was one of the things that less care for parents. So they were more focused in being honest, respect to others, but not that focused in developing emotional competencies and tools. And they consider, as we can see, about being physically strong, interested in playing sports, act like a boy, not act like a girl, and to fit in. Also, when we ask them, do you think boys in our society feel comfortable talking about their emotions when they feel? And we gave different emotions like insecure or weak, embarrassed, feeling lonely, feeling scared, sad, or love. So we can see here that most of them, except on love, in all the others, parents consider that their sons are not, they do not feel comfortable speaking about these emotions. So with this resume of these ideas that we see here through these studies, how do we promote this gender transformation? So on one hand, we need to identify and discuss these harmful gender norms, and on the other hand, we need to present and discuss positive alternative norms. So the key recommendations that we give to develop these programs are, first, community-based collaboration on broad-based partnerships, identifying possible partners, associations, other groups that are already developing some kind of work and partner with them. Also working with women's organizations to promote accountability. So if you have feminist organizations that can support your work from a very initial state, it would be recommended. And work with public institutions, schools, or other sorts of or hospitals, health centers, to engage them, and such as the workplace, to engage them not only to transform the norms, and to reinforce what is already happening in a positive way. And so we need to promote perspectives on change that are already happening. What has shown impact so far? So first of all, questioning what it means to be a man as a central component, and consistently implement groups with well-trained facilitators. It's very important that those who are facilitating the workshops are fully aware of the concepts, not only of the methodology, but all the concepts and the ideas that sustain this kind of work, and also longer duration interventions. We also need to consider the multiple components and levels. So encouraging participants to speak and to act, well-designed community campaigns so that the work that you are doing with those that attend the workshops can somehow also go beyond the workshops. So it's important that they can express not only what they have been doing, but also to engage their communities in the same kind of thought and reflections that they are doing inside the workshops, and advocating for policy and structural changes. And again, as I mentioned before, the contextual adaptation. So we need to engage the beneficiaries since the design phase, so that when we go to the field, we can reduce the risks and the surprises that we might find. So a well-designed program is half the way to succeed in the intervention. These gender transformative programs allow men to come together and become aware of questions and redefine these roles and behaviors that a given community might consider appropriate for men or women. It also examines the cost of manhood on the society and actively challenges also racism, homophobia, and other forms of oppression. And this is crucial to consider. We need to have an intersectional perspective, because obviously when we talk about men or boys, they are not all equal. So when we consider factors like race, like class, and sexual orientation, obviously these layers will influence the expectations that society has around them, and also the opportunities that society allows to them. So these programs, they engage men in social action to challenge the existing gender norms that perpetuate this violence and poor health. And they also allow men to focus on being allies to women. So the idea here is not to bring men to become the protagonist, but collaborate so that they become aware of the importance and of their role as an ally. These approaches, they actively strive to examine, question, and change these rigid norms and to imbalance power, that means of reaching development objectives. They foster critical examination of these gender roles, and they challenge this distribution of resources and allocation of duties between men and women, not only of roles, but real objective distribution. Like if we consider, we have recent research that tell us that no country in the world, men and women spend the same half of the time taking care, doing care work. Not only women are still those that take the unpaid care work in every country in the world, but also when we consider the paid care work, there are also women that are in most of this kind of job. And with the pandemics, we saw a lot of this vulnerability. So this is often precarious paid care work with low incomes, and so women are economically in a situation of fragility. So we need to advocate for this to change. And also to address these power relations between women and others in the community. These programs, they are designed to recognize and strengthen these positive norms that we already have and that do support equality. They are designed to promote a relative position of women, girls, and marginalized groups. And they want to transform the underlying social structures that perpetuate these gender inequalities. Why is this something that we seek and work with our partners to achieve? So we want to change these norms and attitudes affect behaviors. We are more likely to result in long-term permanent changes, and the idea of the butterfly effect. So slight changes and sometimes small and located changes can affect multiple behaviors and also promotes an ongoing growth and development. Those programs that question what it means to be a man are central for the intervention. The longer duration, we now know that programs that have sessions between 10 to 16 lessons at least have better results, and also campaigns that stay at least for 6 to 9 months. They also need to engage with multiple components, and obviously those that engage and present boys and men as part of the solution and not as part of the problem. So, and how does such innovative research inform our programs? We have here Manhood 2.0. It was an adaptation of PROMUNDO's original program H. Program H is now in more than 20 countries in the world, and it's a gender transformative initiative, and it's seek to engage adolescent boys and young men from 15 to 24 years old in reflecting on the impacts of harmful gender norms. And specifically, they want to prevent teen pregnancy, dating violence, sexual harassment, LGBTQI bullying, and building healthier relationships. So all the adaptations of our programs, they seek to attend this theory of change. So first learning, reverse, internalize, and then live, and supporting these influences and structures. So this idea for us, it's fundamental for any adaptation, obviously adapt to the context, to the specific context, but having this general idea of consider how does my program can attend all these different levels. The principles, the main principles of Manhood 2.0 are that young men should see women as having rights and seek relations with women based on respect and intimacy rather than sexual conquest or control. Also that young men must assume responsibility for sexual and reproductive health and disease prevention. So talking with them from a very early stage on their responsibility on sexual relations and on reproductive health. Consider that not all men are equal and that they can experience feelings of power and powerless at the same time. And also must create opportunities for young men to listen to women's realities. So this is very important to bring these examples and to listen, to allow them to listen and to learn and to reflect on these considerations. Manhood 2.0 created a series of interactive group education activities, also always considering to create safe spaces on reflecting on harmful gender norms. I usually say when I give workshops that in order for us to promote changes for the outside, the first challenge is to look to inside, and look inside can be very violent because we will see ourselves and analyze our own attitudes and behaviors, and we will face and start to identify how often we've been victims of this harmful gender norms and stereotypes, and also how long and how often we have been also perpetrators of violence. So this is a very sensitive reflection process that needs us to create safe spaces so that they can feel comfortable talking about this. And we also need to be very caring with the situations that might come up in these discussions so that we can comfort and don't let them stay unstable or traumatized with all this process. So it needs to be a very caring and very attentive process. Also, it has youth-led campaigns that encourage the development of supportive peer groups, and further they reinforce specific changes at the community level. And it's very important to engage them since the beginning of the development of the campaign. So discussing after the workshops, in the final workshops, discussing with them what kind of message they would like their peers to listen, what kind of graphic image or they would like to see. So making this campaign their own campaign, because this will make them engage with the promotion and the sustainability of this campaign as well. And also obviously conduct policy advocacy to address the structural barriers. So always try to articulate with the public entities and obviously to present them the work, to present them the results, and show them that this has potential to transform this harmful norms and give place to a more equitative and non-violent trajectories, and show that this has a direct impact in economy, in health. So it's this is why we always consider that it's very important to monitor and evaluate all the interventions. So to do impact evaluations is very, very, very important for you to conduct this policy advocacy actions. The sample themes of Manhood 2.0, they focus mainly on gender identity, diversity and rights, and power relations, sexual and reproductive health and violence, healthy relationships, personal development, and community action and change. So you have always information, content to support your discussion on this, and then you have the activities designed to promote these discussions with the groups. This adaptation of Manhood 2.0 was led in Washington, D.C. And in Washington, D.C., we worked mainly with the Latin American Youth Center. And in Pittsburgh, we worked with a diversity of community and city partners working in low-resource neighborhoods. And this is an example of the adaptation process. And this is how we usually do it in any context. So first of all, obviously already informed by the researchers, we do a needs assessment that allows us to understand what are the challenges, what are the partners, what might be the risks. So in a needs assessment, I always say that needs to be done at all times. So you do it before the program, you keep doing it along the program, and at the end of the program, you update it so that you can be prepared to do the necessary adaptations at any stage of the project. After that, we developed the curriculum. So we developed a curriculum outline. What are the main themes that you want to address? How can you do it? What kind of activities or other methodologies can be used or adapt? So develop this curriculum and also discuss this curriculum. Discuss with this curriculum with special informants. So it's very useful to create a technical advisory group that will support you along all the process. So with specialists from different areas that can give their inputs in this curriculum. Also do this formative assessment, understanding how this can be operated. Share these findings with the community advisory board so that you can discuss all the process and then do a formation of youth advisory board and testing the activities. So before you implement the program, it's very important to test these activities with a group with the similar characteristics from those that will attend our program. After this testing and revising, obviously sharing with funder and additional revisions and sharing it, discussing it again with the technical advisory group and do the final adjustments so that then you can go to the field and implement the program. So it's a long process until you go to the field. I will present you very briefly one adaptation that we did from program H, and also using a methodology that PROMUNDO developed some years ago in DRC, in Congo, that is called the Youth Living Peace. So Youth Living Peace was a methodology more focused on addressing trauma, group discussions to address trauma with men after the war in the DRC. And the proposal with this project that we did was that at the same time, we did an adaptation from Program H and Youth Living Peace, both in the DRC and in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil. But when we started to work in Rio, we understood that the kind of adaptation that we were doing for the DRC, it wasn't well adjusted for Rio de Janeiro. And this is why I keep saying that we always need to have this long time in the preparation and invite people. So what we did in Rio, when we understood that the curriculum needed some changes and to the specific context of the public schools in Rio de Janeiro, that, as you know, Rio is a very large city with more than 6 million people, and it has lots of inequality, income inequality between the neighborhoods. And so designing a program to attend all the public schools in Rio was very challenging because the realities are very different despite being in the same city. So what we did was that I negotiated with the funder so that we would change the timeline. And we stood 6 months. During 6 months, gathering all Fridays during 4 hours with teachers, psychologists, and social workers that work in the public school system of Rio de Janeiro. And all Fridays we would gather together, discussing and testing the activities and discussing them and the themes. And this was how we developed this program J from Jovens, means youth in Portuguese. And so this program J, working with youth to prevent violence, was tested between 2015 and 2017 with youth, both boys and girls, between age of 13 and 19 years old. And it was also applied with teachers and other education professionals. So it seeks to prevent violence amongst youth and in high violence urban scenarios. And it has a package of tools and material to support these professionals. It divided what we considered, because it's very challenging. The teachers were always saying that they might not have the time to work these themes. So we decided, instead of developing a manual, we created like five booklets that, if you want, you can use them together. But if you don't want to use them together, or you don't have the time to use them together, you can choose each one of them to work on different themes and different topics independently. Not only we did that, but inside this, inside of each one of them, we also give tips. Like, if you don't have the time to create an entire session focused on this, you can, if you are teaching maths, how can you talk about race using maths? How can, in your history class, how can you use, so we would give different examples and different strategies so that this could be used in any of the schools, independently of the neighborhood where they are, or the kind of time that the teachers have to work these themes or not. And each one of these booklets focused on communication strategies. Inside of communication strategies, we would have like tips how to break up if you are dating and you want to break up, how to do it in a gentle and respectful way, how to communicate with others, how to communicate with your own family. We would also talk about relationships. We have a very big focus on race discussion, because obviously it's a theme that is very important, and in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro has a significant part of the population that is racialized. And also youth participation. So we would give these inputs, how you can engage and promote actions in your school, in your neighborhood, in your community, and also in diversity, where we would discuss more around sexual orientation, gender diversity, etc. EquiX was another adaptation that we did, this time in Portugal, engaging youth in the promotion of nonviolent and equitable masculinities. This project was developed, it was the first time that we did this adaptation in European countries of our programs. And we did it in Portugal, in Spain, in Belgium, in Germany, and in Croatia. And the main goal was to bring to the youth these approaches to prevent gender-based violence. And so together, what we developed, we partner, as an example, in Portugal, we partnered with the Commission for the Gender Equality, that is a governmental department. And together with the partners of the consortium, we promoted the adoption of these national manuals in schools, in youth detention centers, refugee centers, and youth groups. So today, our Portuguese manual is officially recommended to be used to teachers use them inside the schools to address these themes. So again, those multiple levels that I mentioned. We also developed a European campaign. So we did national campaigns, and then we created a European campaign that is a short video that I will show you briefly. So that after our project, we could use the social networks to expand what we wanted. And this campaign was created with all the ideas of the young people that were part of our workshops. And also we did the final conference in Brussels. So obviously we could engage politicians and other people at a more policy-making high level. And we did the official launch of IPX manual in Lisbon, in Portugal, in December 2019. So I will now show you our campaign, our video. It's a short video. Sorry. Okay, so this was our campaign, or that we sent to our partners, and so everybody was sharing through social networks like Facebook, Instagram, and so on. And this was a way that we found together with the young people that were part of our workshops to spread our message to the world. Okay, so more recently, we are now developing in Portugal. Oh, sorry. We are now developing Portugal Kinder project that is focused on. Let's see. Okay. Kinder is focused on tackling gender stereotypes in education and early childhood to build a gender-responsive pedagogy in children's education. This is a project that we wanted to develop a long time because we consider that obviously if these norms, they are created and reinforces at all stages of our lives, but research has been telling us that as earlier as we intervene, more successful we can be. So we all know that since babies and even inside the belly, all the stereotypes start, not only because of the colors. If it's a girl, people will offer pink color. If it's a boy, blue, and this starts from this stage. And they also the kind of messages and what people think about how to socialize boys and girls from a very early stage will influence, obviously, their behaviors, their own beliefs, what they understand that they cannot do, what they cannot not be when they grow up. So we wanted to develop, to adapt our methodologies and to create new ones to early stages. So this project that we are developing in Portugal, Spain, and Croatia is focused on developing training curricula for professionals, for education professionals, with children from 3 to 6 years old, and then from 7 to 12 years old. So it's the same program, but obviously we are here considering two different ranges of ages. So it's the same program, but we'll have two different approaches and materials. So we are now doing the first workshops with in the education university. So we are working now and discussing the topics with the future education professionals. And so it will take us almost a year just developing and designing the methodology. We will also have an online platform where we are creating like a playground, a virtual playground, to recommend books, videos, short movies, video games that somehow address and send positive messages regarding gender equality, regarding race and social class, etc. So this idea of engaging different kinds of professionals to help us design this platform and this program is very important for us, because the idea is to develop not only material for education professionals to use, but also materials that can get inside these children's houses. So materials for families, not only to be aware, but also to address, because this is something that we often listen from parents, that is, they don't know how to approach, even if when they want to address these themes, sometimes they don't know how to do it. So we are at this early stage of starting to design this methodology. So hopefully in the end of next year, I might share with you some more details and experiences. Kinder will comprehend this three-country map analysis, and one European map analysis, 3 nationally adapted program K for professionals, and 1 European program K. And also we will organize some events so that we can share good practices and develop 3 national campaigns in collaboration with national authorities. And just to finish, I wanted to share with you this Global Boyhood Initiative. So Global Boyhood Initiative is born from a partnership with from PROMUNDO with Kering Foundation. And we believe boys, the idea is that we believe that boys will be themselves, their wonderful, complex, healthy, emotional selves with a little help. And we also believe they must be feminist allies. So this campaign, why now? So considering all the Me Too and global feminist activism leads parents to ask how to raise feminist sons. Also considering developmental science affirms that actions of adult men often rooted in childhood experiences. Considering also the COVID lockdowns that brought concerns about the online spaces, and we have few tools to address and to create safe online spaces. And we consider also that some of our work is reactive, small scale, and it happens too late. So we decide to center this male allyship in childhood to raise more conscious and gender equal feminist children. So rethinking boyhood, the idea is to rethink boyhood from individuals to systems. And also align research, informed research to our strategies. So if you go inside the Global Boyhood Initiative, you will find these different areas. So you have one focused on how to share emotions in healthy ways, how to accept and connect with others, how to stand up and speak out against bullying and inequality, and how to break free from stereotypes. And when you go inside of them, you will have different cards that you can use. So the idea of this initiative that is focused on young boys aged from 4 to 13 years old, and also the adults in their lives. And it's focused on grounded in research, building evidence-based educational tools, shifting this narrative about masculinity from a very early age via media campaigns, and also developing a programmatic implementation with partners. So you have these interactive cards. When you go there, you will find in the interactive cards, you will have, if you are a parent, if you are a professional. So you have different cards that can help you to start these conversations with boys. And also IGTV series in Instagram, influencers, Instagram videos, and the media coverage. So this initiative that I suggested that you have a look, have a peek in our website, and is something that we are now implementing and hopefully will grow in the next few years, and gathering more and more organizations and countries to help us spread this word and to finally, at some point, achieve gender equality and more safe and non-violent trajectories. So this idea that if you can see it, really be it. That's our core message with this campaign. We also suggest some action steps for parents. So talk openly about your own fears, uncertainties, and disappointments. Curate family media. We know that lots of families do not curate family, and kids have access to different kinds of content that often reproduce not only the stereotypes, but violent behaviors. And trying, obviously, to be model healthy behavior. So seeking help for themselves, take mental health seriously, and seek medical care for sons if the case is more severe. For creators, we give also some tips. So obviously avoid common stereotypes about men and parenting, avoid gratuitous violence, show male characters expressing a full range of emotions, show boys and young men asking for help, show boys and girls playing together and being respectful, show boys being caring and having close friendships, show boys doing household chores, and show a range of gender identity so that we can promote in a very conscious way diversity. So it's important for us, and often we listen this inside schools, that we don't discriminate anyone here. But the idea of not talking about things, it's not necessarily not discriminating. Often it's the opposite, especially because we know that we have in our days, we have a society very focused where male heterosexual men are the primary detentors of power relationships and power decisions. So we need to address diversity, not only sexually, but racially, and to talk openly from that if we want to have more gender equal society, and to promote an anti-racist education as well. So if you want to join us also in the Boyhood Initiative. And please let me know if you have, I will leave you my email, if you have any questions or if you are interested in knowing anything else of our work. I hope you like it. It was, again, a real pleasure to be able to briefly present you a little bit of our work. Bye-bye. Take care.